Okay, hi everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Smudge tool in Photopea. So first off, we're going to open Photopea. So I'm just going to type in Photopea and I'm going to click this and it will bring up the Photopea document. Okay, so we're just going to ignore the box in the middle and we're going to go to File and Open and just select any image that you want to start editing or playing around with. So I'm just going to select this image. We then have our image in the Photopea document. So if we look to the left of our screen, we can see the list of tools that are available in Photopea. Now there's a teardrop. If you look, you can see the teardrop button. If we hover over any of our tools, it actually tells us which tool it is. So in this case, it's the blur tool. If you hover over that, it's the eraser. So and then in the corner of every box, there should be an arrow, like a little white arrow in every box. If there is an arrow, that means that there's more tools inside that drop box. So all we're going to do is hover over it to make sure it's the right one, right click, and it'll open the other tools for us. So the tool we're using today is the Smudge tool, so I'm just going to go ahead and select that. So then we get this little circle that appears on our picture. Now that's our brush. So if you look at the top left corner, you can see that we've selected the Smudge tool and next to it is our brush size. So we can edit the size of our brush. So if we hover over, we can see that the circle's got bigger and we can reduce the size of our brush. We can also change the hardness of our brush. So if it's right at the top, it's going to look more like it's going to have a really hard edge. And if we click on a soft brush, the hardness you can see goes right down, or we can change it ourselves manually. So just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to start off with selecting the hard brush and I'm going to add the size a little bit. So once I'm happy with the size and the hardness of my brush, all I'm going to do is click and drag. So hold my cursor down and drag across the image. Now you can see it's obviously smudged the image straight away. So if we go back and smudge it the other way, it kind of creates this really nice smudging effect. So once we've done that, if we do something that we don't necessarily like, we could go to Edit and Undo. If you wanted to undo more than one thing after we have used the Undo tool once, we can't use it again because if I click it again, it redoes the last thing we undid. So first we go Undo to delete the last thing that you did, and if you want to delete anything further, we have to use the Step Backward tool. Okay, so I'm just going to draw it again, and just to show you again, Edit Undo. Oh, that's because I held my brush down all in one time. If I do it once and then let go, and then another one and let go, goes to Edit, Undo, Edit, Step Backwards. So now we've got the hang of that, we're going to have a look at the hardness of our brush. So I'm going to manually drag down how hard I want my brush. So it's all about playing around with the tools, all about experimenting with the tool and seeing what we can get from it. So if we go to 38 and sorry, my brush is crashing. If I go and improve the size a little bit and add a bit more size to it, again, if we click and hold and drag, we can go across. So I actually like the look of the softer brush. So that's where it comes into play that we're experimenting with things. For those of you studying GCSE, this is where it would be good to get your AO2 marks in terms of experimentation, because you could have took a picture of the one with the hard brush and screenshotted it or saved that picture, and then we could also do one with a softer brush. So you would have more development, more experimentation. Include everything, even if you're not 100% on it, you can still include it in your sketchbook. Okay, so once we've done that, we can start to really play around with the tool. So maybe it's that I'm going to reduce the size, but I also want to include some hardness in there. So I've gone across the image. Now let's try going down the image and up the image. So I'm just going to, you can see where my cursor is, I'm just going to pull that like that. So it kind of looks a little bit like her nose is bleeding. It's up to you how you really play around with it. For those of you that are working on a computer, a keyboard shortcut that you can use to undo something is Control C, and if you sin, it just deleted my the last thing that I did. For those of you that obviously are on your phones or whatever you're using, you would have to still go to Edit Undo. Okay, so I'm just going to have a quick play around. I still don't quite like the hardness of that brush, so I'm going to reduce it a little bit. Still a little bit hard for me. I'm going to reduce it even more. There we go. So if you click on something and you drag it once, you can pull it again if you wanted to. And let's try do it the other way. So we can go up like that. So really experiment with your image. Once you're happy with your image, please do save it. So go to File and Export as and JPEG. Okay. The reason we save it as a JPEG is just because that format usually works with most programs. And we're just going to go to save, and now that's saved in my documents. Okay, so once we've saved it, we can carry on playing around with it really, so for further development. So if we go to Image Adjustments, and I'm going to have a play around with the hue and saturation. Now all this does is it changes the colour balance in the image, and it can really imitate the kinds of moods that you're wanting to portray. So if we go for this kind of vintagey, eerie kind of colour palette. So I know for a fact some artists really focus on this kind of mood, like it's like dingy and kind of dark and eerie. It really helps with mood imitation. Obviously you can also play around with lightness and darkness. So we're just going to go that way. Or you could even experiment with the curves. So like I said, it's literally just about playing around with your image. So we've got something really interesting there. So I'm just going to open the original image just so you can see the difference. So if we go back to our original, and that's our edited image, I'm just going to slightly improve the brightness because I just think it's a little bit dark. And if we go back, and that's our new image. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you've learned something. Thank you.